Let's adjust a few things and start today's live. Earlier, but I'm going at my own pace now. I'm not waking up much, okay? So we're just adjusting now and we'll start the live. Let's see here. Here it is. Today's live will talk about something very, very special to all of us and how we can get out of some complicated situations that we cause ourselves. Today's live, we are in Sao Paulo. It's January 8th, 2025. And live is feeling, emotions, feelings, emotions, and feelings, from the semantic loop to the function metacognitive. The idea is that we differentiate what is feeling, differentiate what is emotion, and differentiate what is feeling, and how to get out of a loop when we have that semantic thing, that bunch of thoughts, and a thought comes and something else comes and one thing leads to another, and we don't get out of an emotion, we don't get out of a feeling, how to get out of the loop. So feeling, emotions, and feelings from the semantic loop to the fruition in metacognition. So that's our idea. So the first thing we're going to do today, and it's very important for you and me to know this, is to define a little bit, to know a little bit what feeling is. What is feeling? Remember, all of you, that what I'm talking about, feeling, has to do with a feeling that comes from the body's homeostasis. It comes from the depths of our living being, our viscera, our deepest perceptions are transformed into a feeling. Pain itself, cold, touch, hunger, thirst, heartbeat, muscle tension. These are feelings. It's very primal, balance, the position you're in. If you close your eyes, your position in space is also a kind of proprioceptive feeling, sometimes interoceptive, inside the body, sometimes outside the body, and sometimes in the body. So feeling. Feeling is something profound. Feeling is part of being. Other animals also feel. Even some species of plants, you notice that they have a feeling and a reaction to that feeling. So feeling is something extremely strong, profound. In my view, there is a feeling which is primal, which is the feeling of belonging. Because this feeling for me is primal, because even bacteria have it. Then a group of bacteria have the chorus sensin, which the molecules talk to all the bacteria, and at a certain point they all act together in a certain way. The human body, since you were an egg, has been duplicating, duplicating, duplicating. At some point the duplication had a difference. Look, it no longer duplicates the same, it changes, such a difference. This led to the adult human body as well. So the child, the baby, and you have an innate sense of belonging. You have belonging, in my opinion, as a feeling. Philosophers and many theorists say that belonging is something of feelings. For me, belonging is the primal feeling. It is the basic. The child already has the sense of belonging. It feels that everything that is around the baby, everything that is around it is itself. It does not differentiate itself. This is a sense of belonging. I am all of this. This is a very important thing. To feel, we will differentiate feeling from emotions, and then feelings, and then we will try to leave the semantic group. That always leaves us feeling crazy, crazy, a feeling that flashes in our heads. Create a semantic core, okay? It's okay, that's what feeling is, deep. I start with belonging, pain, hunger, heartbeat, muscle tension, balance, the position of the body with eyes closed. To feel, okay? An emotion? Emotion is basic, the basic, okay? Joy, fear, anger, sadness, disgust are emotions. They come very quickly. Emotion is a very quick thing. Feeling is too, but emotion, it causes something. You feel an emotion, you feel disgust. Sometimes it is a pulse of disgust or of joy or of fear or anger or sadness. But these are things that happen very quickly, and it's over. I'm already sad, but I'm back. It's something very fast. Emotions are instantaneous. A flash, a little video, a photo can give you an emotion. A smell can give you an emotion. Feeling doesn't. Feeling is a little slower. It's a pain. You're going to cause it. You put it there. Emotion is an instantaneous brain processing. Feeling is already a signal that is a more internal part, either from your own perception or from interoception or from the viscera. So there is a metabolism of how your body hemostasis is, or from your tensions and body position. That is feeling. And emotions, small instantaneous brain processing. Look, two differences. There is no point in trying to run away from emotions. Emotion is human. Anger is human. Sadness is human. Joy is human. Fear is human. There is no point in saying that you are afraid. I will not be afraid anymore. The secret is not to be afraid. No, fear is human. Same animal. Every animal is afraid. There is something very deep. And when feeling deep, there is a deep emotion, and all animals basically have it. Okay, now let's go into the following. There is one emotion that is learned from culture. Some cultures give more emphasis to others, then less emphasis. For example, that the second order emotions, quickly you feel it. But it is already second order. It depends on the culture, you don't feel it. It depends on the culture, you feel it. What emotions are these? Guilt, shame, and pride are second order emotions that a culture places. There is a culture where you will not feel guilt, shame, or pride. Look how interesting. We are in Brazilian culture. Guilt, shame, and pride exist because it is a second order emotion. It is a brain processing that already depends on your learning. Remember the baby? I always talk about Yan Rami. The baby starts to imitate habits, then beliefs, then faith. Faith itself develops faith with beliefs, and then there will be high performance, blind faith, and all that stuff. But also in this beginning of learning, he will have a certain guilt, a certain shame, a certain pride of something different. And shame and pride, this is a second order thing. It is something that you can already change. Don't change your sadness, anger, disgust, and joy, because these are basic, they are very deep. And don't change your feelings of heat, cold, hunger, heartbeat, muscle tension. Don't change them. But if you're going to work on guilt, shame, and pride, that's great. You can work on it a little bit through brain formation, through memories, through different concepts to alleviate the guilt a little bit. The guilt, the way to resolve your guilt is to deconstruct the guilt. Or you are guilty of something, deconstruct it. Don't try to take the blame and forgive your feeling of guilt. Deconstruct the guilt because guilt is something more cultural. Guilt is a second order emotion. Pride too. Oh, I'm proud of that. Okay, but it's a second order emotion. It takes up space in your brain to process. So if you're not proud of anything and you have a good production, it's even better for you. Don't be proud of anything, don't be ashamed of anything, and don't feel guilty about anything. Go within this secular, democratic, law abiding state, blah, blah, blah. Okay, do you understand? This is important to you. Okay, let's move on to feelings. I talked about feeling, I talked about emotions. Let's talk about feelings. Look, when you have a conscious interpretation of emotions, feelings arise. Consciousness. And consciousness, when you have a conscious interpretation of emotions, feelings arise. Consciousness is a reference you have of the mind, not to get too involved in the mind. Feeling, bodily feeling, proprioception, interoception, you have bodily feeling, and then you also have proprioception, and you have your position in space. My position within this space or within this perception in the environment that I am in. I am with a bunch of people talking and I have a perception, or within this philosophy that I have, I polarize myself within it. By polarizing myself, by having a place of speech or a reference, I have a consciousness, a mind with consciousness referenced in this point of view, in this reference, okay? From conscious interpretations, that is, you have the conscious interpretation of emotions, feelings arise. From this reference, where you reference yourself, you will now interpret your emotions and such, the feelings. What are the basic feelings? There are a lot of basic feelings: gratitude, love, calm, grief, loneliness, regret, self-confidence, hope, determination, patriotism, spirituality, hatred. It's also a feeling. Isn't it so interesting? The feeling already requires a conscious interpretation. Conscious interpretation, awareness, is already a reference within yourself. You polarize yourself in a place, and from there you interpret things. From there you interpret the emotion you are feeling. And in the emotion you are feeling, referenced in that referenced mind, in that place of speech, you have the feelings. Because this reference depends on your brain formation, this reference depends on your concepts, it depends on your level of education. It is not education in college, it is education of maturity in life at age, where you are learning values by yourself or by your family or in your interaction with nature like that. Bree prosperity in this interrelationship that you have with nature, with the animal world. This exchange, you will mature, you will become better, you will have a resourcefulness, you will have a representation of everything that is around you, inside you. Life is always a representation. That day, I went to talk to my nephew from Joinville and I told him, "Do you know what a representation is?" I know. Actually, I just wanted to convey a concept to him. For example, you have an apple, an apple, an apple. Okay, does it represent an apple? A sheet of paper draws an apple. The representation of the apple on a sheet of paper is not an apple, it is a representation of the apple. And in this representation of the apple, I can make another one. I can cut the apple in two parts on the sheet of paper. I represent two parts of the apple again. And when I represent two parts of the apple, I go to the structure and the seeds of the apple and represent them again. I am representing the representation of the representation. At no point will I get apple juice, or pick up and measure the apple peel, or feel anything of the reality of the apple. I only have the representation. Jackson, why are you talking about representation? Because feelings are based on the representation that you have accepted in your brain, that you have accepted as brain formation. Your representation of the universe is sometimes based on your perception of reality itself, or your trust in the book you read, or the news article you received, or the WhatsApp message, or the Facebook message you received. You trust that representation and start to form a brain. This is very important. This brain formation can be completely misleading and can simply give you a feeling of gratitude, calm, regret, or hatred, or patriotism. This feeling, together with political polarization, together with belonging to that group. If you don't feel this with these emotions and with this data, you no longer belong to that group. Belonging was something that was reasonably achieved within us. It was used by our parents and our parents' parents with them. And it is used by religious people and politicians, and religion by social networks and by groups where you roll dice and make that person like that dice. And suddenly, look, if you don't choose that way, you no longer belong to the group. If you don't be that way, you won't see. Who is the question? Your sister, your brother, your father in heaven. Because we will go there and you will not be there. So I pressure an individual to accept an idea, an ideology, a faith, a policy, or to accept that lie, that fake news, that WhatsApp group, that Facebook group. Facebook is more complicated with what Zuckerberg said today, because now there won't be no type of censorship for him. Lies will run wild. So you enter the group pressured, stapled by belonging. If you do not seek your belonging, if you are not after that deep sense of belonging to a living being, someone will seek your belonging outside of you to manipulate you. And how will they manipulate you? They will seek your belonging and will give you feelings of love, loneliness, self confidence, hope, determination, patriotism, spirituality, but stealing your belonging, placing you in a specific group, an ideological group, a religious group, a political group. You look at some politicians and say, man, he just wants followers, he just wants votes. The politician is not interested in you at all. You go to some religious people, he only wants my tithe, he only wants my offering, he's not interested in me at all, he wants more followers, he wants me to bring more followers, more tithes, more offerings. You go to other philosophical groups, he wants more followers, more people for that group. Who is interested in your conscience, in your performance, in your well being? You need to be interested in your consciousness, you need to be interested in your performance, in your belonging as a living being. And this belonging is fundamental and is a primal feeling along with feeling. I always approach the following: if you have this primal feeling and you are well developed with belonging, the self, which is a culture, which is a belief, does not enter easily. You are a living being. When the self enters, even the self itself, into the culture, it can create a greater being, which is the I am. I am already an ego mixed with much power. It's a living I am, a living being I am already has an ego. That's impressive. Then you polarize this I am with any divinity and give it its name. Great I am. It's outside. But you are perception, you are consciousness. You look at the world around you and have your direct representation of the world. But when you look at the world, as you are seeing me now on video, this video, which is already a digital representation of my presence, will reach you and you will capture it within you. You will have another representation. Representation of the representation. Be careful with the videos, be careful with what is written. Feel a little more, try to get in touch with the purity, with the reality of things and not the version, the representation of things. The Bible, for example, which is a sacred book of Christians, is a representation of spirituality. But in the name of the Bible, which is a representation of spirituality, millions of people have been killed. How can a representation of spirituality kill millions of people? It's not just the Bible. Other sacred books too, the Quran and other sacred books, a bunch. The representation of this book, the obsession with following them, destroys people. It destroys the very spirituality that this representation showed. Okay, let's go. Emotions, especially when linked to strong semantic or episodic memories, can create a high references that it closes in on itself and we get stuck in the meanings. Lock in the feeling. Let's go. When you are in a feeling, the feeling is something that is an interpretation that uses your consciousness and you interpret your emotions where you are. That is the feeling. But just look, in a feeling of gratitude, you can have a feeling of gratitude after you have had an emotion of joy. You had joy and a feeling of gratitude, okay? But you can also have gratitude through reading, through thoughts. You will seek gratitude and you will have a process of gratitude. Gratitude will make your body feel things. Oops, Gratitude will make the body feel things. It will make the body perhaps feel processes that are a little more joyful. And this gratitude can transcend the initial feeling of your body. For example, you were feeling a little hungry. Hunger is something of the deep sense. But suddenly, in a process of hope, which I do in feelings of hope, and I talk and converse with you and do a lot of events, in these feelings, this feeling will cause emotions, and these emotions can give a feeling that overcomes hunger momentarily. Do you understand what I'm saying? I'm talking about semantics here. The thoughts you have, if you respond and accept them well, and they create feelings, these feelings bring up emotions that make you feel in your body, and it changes the mind, because the mind is feeling but also perception itself. More importantly, it's how to get out of the gloom. Because when I'm talking about gratitude, it's a nice thing. When I'm talking about love, it's a nice thing. Calmness is a nice thing. Grief itself is an interesting thing for you to overcome. Feelings can last a long time. Grief can last a year, for example. Or if you try to hold on to grief, it can last 10, 20 years. If you want, you can die with grief, okay? So mourning is also a process of feeling. Yes, in this process of feeling, you will see that you are in mourning. You will pull some emotions, and these emotions will control the initial feeling. If you have belonging, you don't leave those emotions and those feelings inside an ideology that wants to preserve that feeling forever, to leave you captured inside. Or political. So, what I want to leave with you today is very clear and beautiful. When you are in the loop where the feeling you are having, you cannot get out of the feeling. Notice it is not emotion, it is not feeling, it is feeling. I am in a bad feeling. I am in a feeling of regret. Regret will generate something of second order in me, a second order emotion, which is guilt. Regret and guilt. I'm in that feeling. That feeling is on the other side. Look, I'm in the feeling of regret. So now that regret is creating guilt in me, and that guilt is creating physical pain in me, a physical feeling that surpasses the original feeling. So what do we have to do? We have to go now without these interferences and these interpretations, these cycles, and we go straight to the body. You have a feeling. This feeling can be determination, patriotism, hope, self-confidence, loneliness, mourning, calm, love, gratitude. This feeling is there. But suddenly you take this feeling is based on cultural concepts and prejudices. You simply hold it and go in the body where there is pain, where there is pleasure, where it is pleasant, where it is more tense. What is the position of my body in space? What movement I want to make? Without thinking, without any semantics, simply a feeling moving. What you look at, what you perceive, you mix with yourself, and you are in a body territory where you raise your arms, stretch, stretch, feel your body, feel pain, feel pleasure, feel more tense, poorly positioned areas like my shoulder was drooping. No, but it is drooping, and here it is more comfortable than here. Here it is tense, so you have to stretch, you have to do something. Feel, feel, but now without naming it, whether it is pain or not, just feel and move and give freedom of expression to your own body, to the movements, and you feel and change your own feeling, your own feeling. And then you stop being captured by a feeling. Sometimes you are in a feeling of hate. By the way, hate is all the rage in Brazil, right? Today I watched some parts of the celebration of January 8th, and two parts really interested me. I think it was the part the judge there said, he said the following: look, our democracy comes from Greece. Yes, I know it comes from Greece. where the state and the citizen are the rich man, the woman is not a citizen, the child is not a citizen, the slave is not a citizen, the immigrant is not a citizen, the black person is not a citizen. That's where our definition of state and democracy comes from. We have to improve this, and the Constitution represents this of democracy, but the Constitution has at its core this bias that the citizen is the rich. Do you understand? Because from Greece came these rich people, good men, not women, not children, not migrants, not blacks, not slaves. Today, as my father-in-law says, you also run after money. Today we are slaves to money, we run after money. Because the state is being set up in a way very responsible of all, runs after the money, because the control of the money is with 1% of the population, runs after the money, and 1% controls this flow of money. In other words, $1 trillion in animal interest for the financial market is the control of this entire massive population chasing money where few have access to it. So that was an important thing. Another thing was that our minister also said something about democracy. Democracy is not for some, it is for everyone. Our democracy benefits some. And the minority group today, which is those in the financial market, which does not exceed 150 people, are truly the most privileged. Our minority is privileged. Every democracy privileges a minority that puts us in Congress, in the executive, in the judiciary, in the legislative. And this minority has been privileged for centuries. The same minority has been privileged from generation to generation. Where is democracy? Democracy is for everyone. If there is a citizen with problems, democracy is being questioned. The state is the well-being of all for the benefit of each one. Democracy is the will of all, respecting the rights of each one. Now, there are people with a bad state. There are people who were born badly, live badly, are poorly educated, have better health. So we do not have democracy nor a responsible state. Maybe a state there in the representation of Greece, where a good man is a citizen, a woman is not, a son is not, a daughter is not, a slave is not, and immigrants are not. So calm down, let's redo this process. Let's see, let's feel it better completely. And it starts with you. And Lula said something that I really liked. If there is one defending my demographic, that's enough. That would be me. Because I base myself on a very organic democratic process. I base myself on the feelings and emotions that are inside you, that you have inside yourself, executive, legislative, judiciary. Inside you, there are processes that are democratic. You listen to all your voices inside and outside. And this is an organic process. It is a biosocial policy that emanates from democracy as existence. There is no way to think differently. When someone comes and goes, oh, I will speak on behalf of the people. No, no one speaks on behalf of the people. Speak on your behalf and be democratic. In your deepest interpretation, do you respect yourself, your norms, your sense of justice, of what is right, what is wrong? You respect yourself. Do you listen to yourself correctly within your coherences? Are you democratic with your voices, with your feelings, with your emotions, with your sentiments? Do you know how to regulate sensitive? Or have you lost yourself in feelings with false representations of what democracy is, what the state is, what the well-being of the population is, and still trust that a new system will eliminate corruption? Corruption is part of the capitalist system. You go to any capitalist company and you will see corruption. We have to focus more on this democracy, on this state of well-being of each individual in society and of the individual, further increasing the well-being of each living being in the environment, whether plant or animal. This whole structure, and letting this urgency of the market go towards this general well-being. I always talk about prosperity, where human beings enter into a symbiosis with the environment and no longer generate waste, no longer generate pollution, and it generates high technology, very high technologies, and services become the soul of society and the economy. A lot of service and each product with a lot of added service. moving the economy in a different, poignant way. And within the existence of democracy, Zuckerberg said that he will now release Facebook, WhatsApp, LinkedIn, because it is the same as Twitter, release it. Freedom to lie and mislead people, freedom to take away people's sense of belonging. If your child is a teenager or under, know that social media takes away your children's sense of belonging. And if this belonging is taken away before the age of 14, from 11 to 14, he will feel like he belongs to a network controlled by internet robots that only want to steal attention time to profit. Be careful. Freedom of expression on the internet has a lot to do with stealing people's attention time. And if you let this confusion go through your head, you will lose your children and you will lose yourself. Your life will be biased and you will have concepts, and in these concepts, feelings. Did you notice? In today's live, in these concepts, the interpretation, your consciousness on top of your concepts and your brain formation generates feelings. These feelings impose emotions, and these emotions put feelings in your body, and the very feeling in your body will generate your mind. It's a mix of introspective and proprioceptive feelings. You mixed everything up, right? You mixed everything up. Feelings can make you change your mind. Be careful with your feelings. I told my father-in-law when I spoke to Treco the other time, he said, "Where's the love? Where is the love?" I said, "Father-in-law, in groups of misinformation and hate, you will never have the possibility of seeing love. Love is more in gratitude. Love is in love itself, in calm, in joy, in understanding, even in divergent ideas, and not in the group of misinformation and hate. There is simply manipulation to have followers, to have knowledge, your belonging captured by internet groups or by political, ideological, religious groups, where you are a thing to be sold. No one cares about your conscience. They just want you to be a follower. Hey, come back here. Get your belongings. Go back to your feelings. What to feel? Heat, cold, touch, silk, skin. Run your hand over something. Feel it. The balance of your body, even with your hands closed. Feel the emotions, joy, fear, anger, sadness, disgust. It's part of it. Try to avoid these second order emotions a little. Guilt, shame, pride. Avoid them a little. Go to the original emotions. And when you enter your feelings, know culture, information, and representations of what you hear as representing something are representations and can generate feelings. And representations often have nothing to do with reality. They are biased representations with the purpose of taking away your belonging, which is the primal feeling. Guys, that's what I wanted to leave with you this week, to serve whatever is worthy today. And it will be like this on Wednesdays, or at some time I will do the live. Until next Wednesday, a big hug. To record here, so I'm going to record a little summary of it.